Hey viewers, welcome to African Tales by Affy. Please kindly click the subscribe button to get notified for more amazing stories. Tafa was a city where the rich lived in grand houses, and the poor barely scraped by. Among those struggling was Affy, a skilled mechanic, and his wife, Nunu, a hard-working tailor. They lived in a small, run-down house on the outskirts of the city with their 5-year-old daughter, No matter how hard they worked, money always seemed to slip through their fingers like water. One evening, as Affy sat outside his workshop, covered in grease and exhaustion, his best friend, Lomi, walked by. Unlike Affy, Lomi had recently found success, running a thriving auto business. He wore fine clothes, his pockets jingled with coins, and his smile was as bright as the Tafa sun. "Affy, my friend!" Lomi called out, clapping him on the back. "You look as if the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Why don't you take a break?" Affy forced a smile. "A break? And who will put food on the table?" Lomi chuckled, shaking his head. "You work too hard for too little. There are other ways to make money." Affy raised an eyebrow. "Other ways?" Lomi leaned in, lowering his voice. "There are men in Tafa who don't just work for their riches. They know secrets, powerful secrets. They can turn nothing into something. If you're interested, I can introduce you." Affy's heart pounded. He had heard rumors of such things before, men who went from rags to riches overnight, whispering about powerful rituals. He glanced at his dirty hands and thought of Nunu, sewing late into the night just to afford a single meal. Then he thought of his little girl who deserved more than an empty belly and torn clothes. "I'll think about it," Affy muttered, but the seed had already been planted. That night, at home, Nunu sat on the floor, stitching a dress for a wealthy client. Played nearby, humming a tune as she rocked her worn-out doll back and forth. "Nunu," Affy began hesitantly, "what if there was a way for us to escape this life? A way to finally have the riches we deserve?" Nunu sighed, not looking up from her sewing. "Affy, we have a home, we have each other. Isn't that enough?" "No, it's not enough." Affy snapped, standing up. "Look at us. Look at She deserves better. I won't watch my daughter grow up in poverty while others live like kings." Nunu set down her needle, her eyes filled with concern. "What are you saying, Affy?" He hesitated before finally blurting out, "Lomi told me about a man, a Baba, who can help us get rich." The color drained from Nunu's face. "No. I don't want to hear it. Nunu, just listen." "No, Affy," she shouted, standing up. "I've heard of those men. They ask for something in return, something terrible. I won't be part of it." Affy clenched his fists. "And what if the price isn't so bad? What if we can have everything we ever wanted?" Nunu's voice trembled. "And what if it is bad? What if we lose more than we gain?" The room fell silent except for soft humming. Diffu looked at his daughter, then at Nunu, and for a moment, doubt crept into his heart. But deep inside, the hunger for wealth was stronger. And that night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he made a decision. He would visit the Baba. The morning after his conversation with Nunu, Diffu could not shake the thought of the Baba from his mind. As he worked on a customer's car, his hands moved mechanically, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The idea of wealth, of finally escaping his struggles, gnawed at him. Later that evening, after ensuring that Nunu and Om were asleep, Diffu slipped out of the house and made his way through the dimly lit streets of Tafa. He met Lomi at a secluded spot, and together, they walked towards the Baba's shrine, an eerie place nestled at the edge of the city, where few dared to go. The Baba was an old man, his eyes clouded with wisdom and mystery. He sat in front of a small fire, his fingers tracing patterns in the dust as if reading an unseen message. When he spoke, his voice was deep and commanding. "You seek wealth, yet you fear the price," the Baba said without looking up. Diffu swallowed hard. "I will do what must be done." The Baba finally raised his gaze, peering into Diffu's soul. "Wealth is not given freely. The gods require something of value in return. What do you love most in this world?" Diffu hesitated. "My family." The Baba nodded. "Then the gods demand the blood of the most precious one in your life." Diffu felt the air leave his lungs. His mind raced. He had expected a sacrifice, but not this. Not Om. "No," he whispered, shaking his head. "There must be another way." The Baba only stared at him, unblinking. "The gods have spoken. If you wish for their favor, you must obey." Diffu stumbled out of the shrine, his mind in turmoil. Lomi followed, his face unreadable. "You knew this, didn't you?" Diffu accused. Lomi sighed. "I told you, wealth is not free." Diffu walked home in a daze, his mind battling between desire and love. When he entered the house, he saw Nunu still awake, her sewing abandoned as she looked at him with worry. "You knew this, didn't you?" Diffu accused. Lomi sighed. "I told you, wealth is not free." Diffu walked home in a daze, his mind battling between desire and love. When he entered the house, he saw Nunu still awake, her sewing abandoned as she looked at him with worry. "Then listen to me, Diffu. This is madness. We are poor, but we are together. Don't let greed take away the one good thing we have." Diffu exhaled deeply. "It's not greed, Nunu. It's survival." Nunu wiped a tear away. "If survival means sacrificing our child, then what kind of life will we be left with?" Diffu had no answer. He walked out the door, leaving Nunu staring after him, fear and desperation filling her heart. Days passed, but the tension between Diffu and Nunu only grew thicker. Diffu avoided his wife's gaze, and Nunu barely spoke a word to him. Every time she looked at Om, she felt a deep pit of fear in her stomach. Could Diffu really go through with such an unthinkable act? One evening, as Nunu sat sewing in the dim candlelight, Diffu entered the room. His face was pale, his eyes sunken with lack of sleep. He sat across from her, rubbing his hands together nervously. "We need to talk," he finally said. Nunu stopped sewing but didn't look up. "What is there to say?" Diffu took a deep breath. "I went back to the Baba." Nunu's head snapped up. "You did what?" "He said there's another way," Diffu continued quickly. "A different kind of sacrifice." Nunu's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Diffu hesitated. "The Baba said we could trick the gods." Nunu frowned. "How?" "We offer something similar," Diffu explained. "A cow. A life in place of a life. It won't be easy, but it might work." Nunu felt a glimmer of hope, but it was quickly replaced by doubt. "And if it doesn't? What if they know?" Diffu ran a hand over his face. "I don't know, Nunu. But I can't give up on this. We can't keep living like this." Nunu clutched her chest. "You mean you can't? You're willing to gamble with Ohm's life?" Diffu slammed his fist on the table. "I would never harm our daughter." "But you were willing to consider it," Nunu shot back, her voice breaking. "You let greed take hold of you, Diffu. This isn't about us anymore. This is about you." Diffu closed his eyes. He couldn't deny it. He had let his desperation lead him down a dark path. But now, he saw a way out, one that didn't involve losing his daughter. "Please," he whispered. "Trust me." Nunu's shoulders sagged with exhaustion. She wanted to believe him. But the doubt still lingered. The following night, Diffu and Nunu sneaked to the Baba's shrine, leading a cow behind them. Lomi was waiting there, his face unreadable. "You're sure about this?" he asked Diffu. Diffu nodded. "Yes." The Baba emerged from the darkness, his eyes gleaming in the firelight. He studied them in silence before stepping forward. "You have brought an offering?" Diffu gestured to the cow. "We offer this in place of our child." The Baba stared at the animal, then at them. He hummed in thought before finally speaking. "Very well. But know this, if the gods are not deceived, there will be consequences." Nunu gripped Diffu's arm, but he didn't waver. The ritual began. The Baba chanted in an ancient tongue, the flames flickering wildly around them. The cow let out a final, pitiful cry before the sacrifice was completed. As the ritual ended, the Baba turned to Diffu. "The gods have accepted your offering. For now." Diffu and Nunu exchanged a glance, relief washing over them. But the Baba's last words echoed in their minds as they made their way home. For now. The next morning, Nunu woke up to an eerie silence. Diffu was already awake, sitting by the window, deep in thought. The usual sounds of the marketplace were distant, muted. "I don't feel right," Nunu murmured. Diffu turned to her, his expression troubled. "Neither do I." A knock on the door startled them both. Lomi stood outside, his face grim. "Come quickly," he said. Something has happened. They followed him through the village, past the busy streets, until they reached the edge of the river. A group of people had gathered, whispering among themselves. Nunu gasped when she saw it. Nunu gasped when she saw it. A dead cow, eerily similar to the one they had sacrificed, lay motionless by the water. Its eyes were wide open, its body untouched but lifeless. The villagers exchanged nervous glances, murmuring about bad omens and angry spirits. Diffu's heart pounded. This can't be happening. Lomi turned to him. It seems the gods are not so easily fooled. Nunu clutched Diffu's arm tightly. What have we done? As fear settled in their bones, the wind howled through the village, carrying with it an unspoken warning. The wind howled through the village, carrying whispers of fear. The dead cow by the riverbank had left the villagers uneasy, murmuring about the wrath of the gods. Diffu and Nunu felt the weight of their choices pressing down on them like an unseen hand tightening its grip. Nunu barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the lifeless cow, its wide, unblinking eyes staring into nothingness. She turned over and nudged Diffu, who was lying stiffly beside her, staring at the ceiling. Diffu, she whispered, her voice trembling. What do we do now? Diffu let out a heavy sigh. We wait. The Baba said the gods accepted our offering. Nunu shook her head. Did you not see the cow? Do you still think we fooled the gods? Diffu sat up, rubbing his face in frustration. I don't know, Nunu. But what else can we do? We have no choice but to trust the Baba. Before Nunu could respond, a sharp knock sounded at the door. They exchanged a wary glance before Diffu went to open it. Lomi stood there, his face grim. Come with me, he said simply. They followed Lomi through the still sleeping village, the early morning mist clinging to their skin. He led them to the Baba's shrine, where the old man was waiting for them, a strange look in his eyes. You have come, the Baba said, his voice as steady as ever. You have seen the sign. Diffu nodded. The cow at the river, was it a warning? The Baba studied him for a long moment before speaking. The gods are watching. They know what you have done. They accepted your offering, for now. But the balance has been disturbed. There is always a price to be paid. Nunu's hands shook. What does that mean? The Baba's gaze pierced into her. It means your fate is no longer in your hands. You tried to deceive forces beyond your understanding. Now, you must be prepared for what comes next. Diffu clenched his fists. But you told us it would work. The Baba shook his head. I told you the gods had accepted it. But I never said they were fooled. Silence fell between them, heavy as a storm cloud. Then what do we do? Nunu asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The Baba gave them a cryptic smile. You pray that when the gods come to collect their due, they will be merciful. Days passed, and a deep unease settled over Diffu and Nunu's household. Nunu barely left the house, clutching home close to her at all times. Diffu buried himself in work, but the unease followed him like a shadow. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Affy returned home to find Nunu sitting motionless on the floor, her face pale. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling beside her. She turned to him slowly, her eyes wide with terror. She's sick, Affy. She won't wake up." Affy's heart nearly stopped. He rushed to their daughter's sleeping mat, shaking her gently. Wake up, my child." The little girl stirred weakly but did not open her eyes. Nunu let out a sob. She was fine this morning. But this afternoon, she said she was tired and laid down. She hasn't moved since. Panic gripped Affy's chest. "We need to take her to the Baba." Nunu hesitated. What if this is the god's punishment? What if we can't stop it? Affy refused to believe it. "We have to try." They carried to the Baba's shrine, their hearts pounding. The old man took one look at the child and sighed heavily. "The gods have spoken," he murmured. Nunu fell to her knees. "No, please. Save her." The Baba shook his head. "This is the price of deception. The balance must be restored. A life was demanded, and a life will be taken." Affy felt his knees go weak. There must be another way. The Baba studied them for a long moment before speaking. "There is only one path left to you. One of you must offer yourself in her place." Silence fell upon them, heavy and suffocating. Affy and Nunu looked at each other, the weight of their choices pressing down on them like an avalanche. The silence in the Baba's shrine was suffocating. Affy and Nunu stared at the frail form of their daughter, her breathing shallow, her tiny hands cold. The Baba's words echoed in their minds, "One of you must offer yourself in her place." Nunu sobbed, clutching tightly. "No, there must be another way. I cannot lose her." Affy turned to the Baba, desperation in his eyes. "Is there truly no other way? We have wealth now. We can give offerings, gold, land, anything the gods desire." The Baba shook his head slowly. "The gods do not bargain. A life was taken from them in deception. A life must be given in return. That is the only way to restore the balance." Affy swallowed hard. He had never feared death before, but now, the weight of the choice before him crushed his soul. I will do it. I will give myself." Nunu gasped. "Affy, no. We can find another way. Please, don't leave me alone." He cupped her face gently, his calloused fingers wiping her tears away. "Nunu, our daughter must live. She is innocent in all of this. I brought this curse upon us. It is only right that I pay the price." The Baba nodded solemnly. "You have made your choice. The ritual must be performed before the sun rises." The night air was thick with incense and whispers. Affy stood in the center of the shrine, draped in a red cloth, while Nunu knelt beside tears streaming down her face. The Baba began to chant, his voice deep and commanding, calling upon the gods to accept the offering. Diffu's heart pounded as the flames around him flickered and danced, growing higher as if reaching for him. He closed his eyes, accepting his fate. Let my daughter live. A powerful gust of wind tore through the shrine, extinguishing the candles. The ground trembled, and a deep, echoing voice filled the space. The balance is restored. The sacrifice is accepted. Nunu screamed as Diffu collapsed to the ground, his body lifeless, his face peaceful. Om stirred, her tiny eyes fluttering open. Mama, she whispered, her voice weak but alive. Nunu clutched her daughter to her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. Oh, my child! You're awake! You're alive! The Baba stepped forward, his face solemn. It is done. The gods have taken what was owed. Go now, and live the life Diffu has given you. Days passed, and the village mourned the sudden passing of Diffu. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed he had angered the gods, others whispered that Nunu had betrayed him. But Nunu paid no mind to the gossip. Her heart was heavy with grief, but she found strength in her daughter's laughter and the knowledge that Diffu's sacrifice had not been in vain. She took over Diffu's business, turning his workshop into a successful tailoring shop. Wealth no longer held the same allure for her, but she ensured that Om would never know the pain of poverty again. Each night, she lit a candle for Diffu, whispering prayers of gratitude and sorrow. As the years passed, Om grew into a strong and kind young woman, never knowing the full truth of her father's sacrifice. Nunu watched her daughter thrive, and though her heart ached for Diffu, she took solace in knowing that his love had saved them both. Greed and deception come at a great cost, but love and sacrifice have the power to restore balance. True wealth is not found in gold or possessions, but in the love we share and the choices we make for those we cherish. Hello tribe, hope we enjoyed today's story. Please kindly put what you've learned in the comments section. Please remember to hit the like button, share this to your friends and family, as well as subscribe to see you on the next one. Bye.